Pretty much the exact opposite of the movie we just discussed, Babylon. This is Women Talking from the unbeatable, undefeated Sarah Polley. Alonso, tell us about it.
Yes. So Sarah Polley is her latest film. She co-wrote it with Miriam Toews, who wrote the book. And it is about a group of women in a religious sect who are having a meeting to decide what they're all going to do next.
But that day, we learned how to vote.
Do nothing.
Stay and fight.
Leave.
This sect has had various cases of sexual abuse and assault from the men that, people were unexplained and nobody knew what was happening. And then they catch somebody in the act. And so now while the men are in town bailing out one of their members, the women are like, all right, we have three choices. Over the course of the film, we basically see a couple days worth of these conversations about what that's going to mean. Everything I hated about the staginess of The Whale, this movie is so incredibly dynamic, despite the fact that it is very stagey because it's mostly set in this barn and it's about women talking. But the performances are uniformly excellent. I'm always thrilled to see not just Judith Ivey and Sheila McCarthy in a movie, but that they get lines and real estate and things to do. But also like Rooney Mara and Claire Foy and Jessie Buckley and Frances McDormand. Just this really extraordinary, Michelle McLeod, really great cast. And of course, Paddington. Ben Whishaw is the one guy there. He's transcribing everything because he's the school teacher and none of the women have been taught to read or write. It's that kind of religious sect. I love this movie. It had me at the get-go and I was just completely absorbed the entire time.
Yeah, it would be easy to dismiss this like, oh, it's just a play on film. It's not a play.
No.
I think it might be Miriam Toews.
Oh, is it? Okay, sorry.
It might be because Jonathan Toews, who is spelled the hockey player, who's spelled the same way, is pronounced like that. Anyway,
I'll take your word for it.
It might be. It sucks you in. It really does. Like it really lures you in. And Sarah Polley has such a way with dialogue and with humanity, like conveying like universal truths in very simple and relatable ways, like, which sounds super pretentious when I say that, but like what these women go through, it's a very specific struggle that they're experiencing. But I think we all have that moment of truth where we've got to decide what we want to do with our lives. We've all, or we're pondering that over a long period of time. And she's able to convey that in a way that is meaningful verbally, but also visually. And so she spends most of the time in this barn, but gives enough glimmers of what their daily lives are like to make it feel full and rich and complete, like in very efficient ways, as far as what they wear and how they raise their children, what life might have been like before. And what's amazing is that it takes place like now.
Yeah, you spend a good chunk of the movie thinking, is this the 19th century? And then suddenly it's like, oh, okay, no, it's all right. Yeah,
and the way we find that out is kind of surprising. Yeah. But I believe this is actually based on a true story.
Oh wow, really? Okay.
Yeah, and I believe that the author followed it and was really interested in this story, and then wrote about it, and then that's how this became a film. So it is rooted in actual historical truth. But yeah, they're a Mennonite sect.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I was completely on board for this. I found it really haunting, and there is one of the sexiest things I've seen in a movie all year is basically Ben Whishaw drinking water out of Rooney Mara's hands.
No other way around.
Oh, sorry, right.
He gives Rooney Mara the water.
Yes.
Right?
You've probably seen it more recently than I have.
I just saw it before we voted. It's one of the last things I watched before we voted because I had to make sure I saw it. Yeah, Sheila McCarthy, we did a review of...
I've heard the mermaid singing.
I've heard the mermaid sing. And I did not realize that was her. I'm like, she's really good. Who is this? And I'm like, oh, of course. And she totally broke my heart in this movie. This is the kind of movie that might very easily make her a marginalized supporting player, her or Judith Ivey, and just focus on Jessie Buckley, Claire Foy, Rooney Mara. But it gives them all really meaty moments, and every single person in very efficient ways feels totally fleshed out. Like that was the big triumph here, I thought, was that is this massive ensemble, but everyone feels well developed. Like that seems hard.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. It really does capture something about these sort of enclosed systems and enclosed societies, where like you are sort of taught to take it for granted that this is your place in the world and this is what world you'll be in, and that will never change. And so for these women to be faced with the idea of, well, what if we don't? What if we do something else? What if we completely unshackle ourselves from our notions of what was expected of us and what we were supposed to expect from life and from this sect and from everything else? Like, it's really daring. And the movie, I think, really spells out what that's like and why that's so sort of scary, but at the same time, like, provides this real opportunity for people. I don't think it's bashing faith in any way. I think it's about the sort of corruption that can exist in communities where there's such a striking imbalance of power. Great year for Sarah Polley, by the way. If you've not read her book of essays that came out this year, Run Towards the Danger, highly recommend. Really provocative stuff, and just, she's so talented and has seen a lot, and she started acting when she was really, really young, and I think now she's such an empathetic and her filmmaking is so emotional, but it's also so, like, she has such technical strength as well. It's hard to mix those two things a lot of times, but I think she's just extraordinary.
Yeah, a really evocative storyteller, and I love that she's so interested in these like complicated women. If you look at Away From Her and Take This Waltz, and I think about Stories We Tell, her documentary, all the time. Yeah. So I love that there's a truth to that. There's a through line to that. That's clearly what is calling to her. One thing I don't love about this, I don't love the way it's shot.
Really?
I don't love. Yeah, so? It's one of several movies this year where there's like a desaturation to it that I found distracting, and I don't understand that choice. Is it to create a sense of history, to make it feel like an old photograph? Like, I don't think you've seen Emancipation, but Emancipation has that too. Like, it's intentionally desaturated, so it looks almost like an old, faded, like sepia toned kind of photograph. And then also The Whale has a lot of that too. There's several films this year that are like so dark, and I don't know why she made that choice, and I kind of wish she hadn't. But
it worked for me because I think it does give a sense of like you said, this is a movie where for a long time you're not quite sure when it's set, and so I think that helps out in that. But I think also because these are religious women who have probably been like raised in this atmosphere of like modesty, and everybody's wearing long skirts and buttons, and like it's that kind of thing. The idea of like bright colors would be so anathema to them that to me it just sort of put me in the mindset of like the kind of modesty and simplicity that they were sort of urged to live their lives in.
Yeah, I'm not saying bright colors, but I'm saying like because as you say, it's such an austere life, like
you could have shot it as
further,
is.
Yeah, desaturating it further feels like redundant and almost kind of bland. Anyway, but it's a minor quibble because the storytelling is there, the writing is there,
and a great
the acting
score,
is there.
By the way, also.
Yes, I'm saying 8.
9.8 for me on my top 10 list this year. Go see Women Talking. I loved it.